So we're thinking a little bit about what is your narrative backbone. The invitation could be that this sparks a story of a time when you notice that the people or families or communities that you're in conversation with maybe have contributed to the shaping of your backbone in some way.
You know, in those early days when I was traveling with Michael, I met Peggy, and I just have such a memory of Peggy saying to me that, narrative therapy has heart and soul. Like that's what keeps me here. And the heart and soul, like what they were saying, the backbone along with the heart, it's just, yeah, that really resonated too.
I was brought up by people who believed that our lives were shaped by stories, and that I grew up in a kinship circle where people storied one another. I was storied to be the person I am today, starting with the stories told of my birth and the stories told of the people who came before me. I felt very much that this resonated with my own cultural and ancestral way of thinking about how to help people tell their stories in ways that make them feel stronger, that carry dignity and pride and solidarity with those who have come before and those who are here today and those who have yet to come. The one thing I just wanted to bring out is there were so many women. We heard from Maggie and Jill and Karen. There were so many women along the way, so many people I could only begin to name.
Thank you both for your sharings. I really appreciate all of that. And Marcy, on the heels of what you were just saying about identifying so many women in this aspect of the very clear intention of making space for marginalized voices. And when I was thinking of narrative backbone, I went right to my first spark. And the first time I was sparked was in a class at the very tail end of my graduate school training. And it was one day in a 10-week class. It wasn't, it was just one day. And Larry Zucker was the instructor and introduced postmodern ideas. And two things just made me go, what? You can do this? And one was, we don't have to just be endlessly circling the problem story and asking how shitty the shittiness is when it's really, really shitty. Because guess how a person is going to feel at the end of 50 minutes of that. But we can listen for and pay attention to what's working a little bit well, even in the face of all of this other stuff, and being curious about how or if or how we can grow more of that. And then just getting this sort of image that it's kind of like, it's physics. The more that you grow what's working well, it automatically diminishes the other. And there was a sense of permission to explore this realm that, at least in the context of graduate school, had been uninvited to explore. And also alongside of that for me was the attention of operations of power, power in the culture, right? All the isms, racism, sexism, heterosexism, ableism, and really turning an evaluative eye on them as a construct, right? And being able to unpack them, evaluate them. And, as a gay man who had grown up in a world where there was literally zero space for that part of an identity, I think it resonated because there were so many aspects of my personal struggle that were about trying to open space where there was really no space. That sense of finding safety in the field of psychology that wanted to promote with something that was so non-existent in my life growing up, and being able to provide that for other people and those aspects of their marginalized identities was hugely meaningful. And it reminded me of one of my favorite quotes by Leonard Cohen, and it goes, "There's a crack in everything. It's how the light gets in." And I just love that as a metaphor, especially when we're sitting with clients who feel themselves like it's intractable, like
Mm.
there's no way out, right? And remembering that we're just looking for that crack and bringing our attention to that.
One of the last workshops I went to with Michael, so he introduced the workshop saying that, that this work, narrative therapy, is a tender therapy. But then he followed it by saying, so this was going to be a week-long intensive on working with, people who had been subjected to violence, or trauma in their lives. And he said that narrative is a therapy of prayer and protest.
Mm.
And both those ideas I just heard them in what both of you were saying, like sort of standing up against power, and that tenderness of it, like a tender prayer with people, like as we're developing their stories, right? And like in ways that make them stronger. Yeah.